Let me go back to my old friend, the ABC. Sometimes the ABC likes to suggest that its critics, like me, have an obsession with it, as if $1 billion a year public institution shouldn't be held to account. But of course, there's no one so obsessed with the ABC as the ABC.
Mr. Pickering will see you now. Ah, Hamish MacDonald, please. Didn't see you come in.
Mr. Pickering.
MacDonald. Any relation to Ronald?
Don't think so.
Good. That guy is a fucking clown.
OK, any questions for me?
Yes, as head of HR, I just wanted to make sure you were settling in over at Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A, that's it.
Wow, in case you wondered, those are two people at the ABC that you pay for, and that was a comedy program. But the self-absorption at the ABC goes a lot further than that. Even after hosts such as Kerry and Barrie Cassidy, for instance, retire onto their ABC Super, the ABC brings them back to do more for the ABC.
Who do you trust? Who do you trust to lead us in this country, particularly through the bad times? We've just about given up on our leaders until the coronavirus, when, quite frankly, they surprised us.
Well, perhaps they didn't surprise the people who voted for them, Barrie. We know Cassidy got the federal election badly wrong, but guess what? Voters tend to get them right. Anyway, so who would Cassidy talk to about leadership in the time of coronavirus?
I want to discuss that now on 1+1, focusing on leadership, with Dr. Norman Swan, the ABC's medical expert, who was another person who shone during this period.
OK, so Barrie is back at the ABC doing more for the ABC about the ABC. But he seems to think the only access to information is through the ABC.
The first time, though, that you started to get my attention was the 4th of March. You did a report for 7:30. At that point, there wasn't really a lot of reaction from politicians. There wasn't a lot of reaction from the health experts. Did you feel as if you were stepping into a vacuum?
Absolutely.
Well, as someone who follows this thing pretty carefully, this jarred with me. The 4th of March, and he stepped into a vacuum, perhaps at the ABC, but certainly elsewhere, there was an acute focus on these issues much earlier. I checked back on my own programs. Here's the New South Wales Health Minister, Brad Hazzard, on Sky on Australia Day, January the 26th.
If you do have any of those symptoms and you have been to Wuhan, or you've been in contact with somebody who is known to actually have the virus from Wuhan, we would strongly ask you, implore you, to contact health authorities here in New South Wales and indeed Australia.
That's before he waved in the Ruby Princess, of course, but right off the back of that interview, I spoke to infectious diseases expert Professor Peter Collignon.
Now, this one we don't know. There appears to have been some contact in a market in Wuhan originally, and so maybe it came from an animal to people. But there's also some cases that were earlier than that that did not appear to have contact with those markets. So we really don't know. But what's beyond doubt now, there's human-to-human transmission, which is a little bit unusual for viruses initially coming from animals, because they're usually a bit harder to transmit from person to person.
I repeat, that was Australia Day, January 26th. Barrie Cassidy's talking about a vacuum on March the 4th until the great Dr. Norman Swan at the ABC filled it. Now, Professor Collignon, as you saw there, was great. And as regular viewers of this station will know, we quickly organised to have him on weekly, along with a procession of other medical experts and politicians. And you would have seen Peter Collignon on a lot of other programs as well. But at the ABC, according to Cassidy, there was this vacuum for about 6 weeks at the ABC. Oh well, when the ABC did pay attention though, did anyone notice that Swan's predictions turned out to be wildly alarmist and wrong?
So the predictions at the moment, if this hockey stick doesn't change that much, is that we'll be out of ICU beds in New South Wales. Victoria will be behind that by April 10th.
Well, we tripled the number of critical care beds to 7,000 or more, and because we've done so well, we've never needed to use more than about 100 of them at one time for coronavirus patients. I haven't got the exact figure, but currently there are 2 in use for the pandemic. 2. But Swan said we'd run out, would be overrun in our two biggest states in early April. But of course the ABC wants to make one of their own a national coronavirus hero. Why? Because as I've always said, it's their ABC.